You've been pulled together as a team. You're now remote, and you've been pulled together. You've been tasked to figure out how your organization addresses the COVID crisis now and in the future. So, wow. Um, Challenge is you and five other people have been pulled together. You don't quite know one another. You're not used to working together. You're mostly clear on what you're supposed to do, right? But there's different levels of energy. You got other things going on. You need to rapidly align so that you achieve the results you need to achieve. I'm going to suggest there are 5 elements of teamwork that you align around, that you're clear on. You need to have conversations as a group around this, but it doesn't need to be long. It just needs to be purposeful. So briefly, you need to get clear on the goals. Think not in terms of tasks, but the outcomes. What value have you been formed to create? If you're expected to give multiple deliverables, you're going to have to do some prioritization. Which are most important? What are you going to have in hand when you're done? Make sure that your goals are specific and measurable. If you're familiar with the OKRs, or Objectives and Key Results framework, that's a great way to structure this conversation and help you identify those specific goals. So that's the first topic. Secondly is organization. That's the internal structure within your team about how you work. It's just important to understand who is doing what. Are we all doing all of the same tasks together? Is this all work going to be done in common? Or are there things that we need to do outside of the work? Are some of us tasked with idea generation, some of us with research? Who's going to do the communication? Are we all doing it? We just don't want to stumble over one another or duplicate efforts. So get clear on how you're organized within your team. The third is around your processes. In this case, we're not talking key work processes, right? You've been formed to come up with a plan for COVID, for example. The processes we're talking about are things like, how do we meet so that our meetings are effective and efficient? How do we set priorities? How do we make decisions? How do we solve problems? Many people don't think about this as a process, and so what happens is people get in, and then there's unnecessary friction, tension. The loudest voice is often the one that wins. Well, that's not a great way to come up with important plans. So, other videos on my site, I talk about how you do some of those processes well, but you've got to get clear. How are we going to make decisions? Is it going to be, let's talk about it and then vote? Is it going to be consensus? Is it going to be what? Okay, so processes. Relationships. You don't need, particularly in this environment, for when our communication is remote like this, right? We don't need people's feelings getting, noses getting bent out of shape, feelings getting hurt, getting distracted. We're already dealing with enough tension. A suggestion to deal with the dynamics that come up in any team environment are to develop a certain set of ground rules. So you need to talk through, what is it we're just going to hold as true in our work together? Things like, we are going to talk candidly all the time. That is, you don't have to filter what you're saying. We are going to not take offense. We're always going to assume the best of the other people. We're going to work at this until we can all commit to the final outcome, and we give each other 100% support outside of the team. Those are some suggestions. Feel free to talk through with your team about, hey, what is it we need to remember? What will govern our interactions while we're working together? The last area is leadership. Now, in the situation that I'm giving you, there's no formal leader on this team, right? We're all at the same level. It doesn't mean that leadership then is absent or not needed. It just means we all have to share it. We all have to make sure that we continue as a group. So we're taking responsibility, not just for our own efforts, but for the efforts of all of us, that we're all working together towards the goal, that we're abiding by the organization, the processes that we established earlier. But beyond that, we're going on to encourage one another, right? Again, stress is up. So I'm paying attention not only to, are you getting the work done, but how are you doing? How's the family? Everything okay? Yeah, what else can we do to support you? And if that sounds too touchy-feely for you, tough, it's needed, it's necessary. So let's start getting a little uncomfortable in our willingness to care for one another. That's the big issues around leadership right now, provided you've taken care of the others. So, with that, again, 5 areas to address. You take care of those, your team will be aligned, and you will be much more effective, efficient. After what may be an hour meeting to talk through this, you'll be much more effective working towards your goals.